afternoon's class is our rentals class. We're going to look at primarily the rental side of the service program, how to set up rental inventory, whether you're just keeping track of quantities or actually wanting to track serialized items, how to enter a rental transaction or an order, route it, use tasks or work orders to manage deliveries and pickups, and then run through a couple different scenarios for billing.
Great.
The first thing we're going to need to set up is our inventory that we can rent out. Now, if you do not need to track serial numbers, this may not apply to you. What I'm going to show first is how to set up a serialized inventory. You can always just use the regular inventory that's set up within QuickBooks, your regular item list without serial numbers, and rent that. But if you want to track a unique number, Server does a great job doing that. And I'm going to go to Rental Info, Rental Inventory List. We'll start with a blank list here. To set up an item, this first drop-down is the item list from QuickBooks. So we're going to use one of the items, maybe a portable toilet, and then I can give it a serial number.
Michael? Michael? I just had a question about, you just knew right away to just not deal with that first field, but what is that first one just above where you just did? What did that do for us? Is that a search or?
It allows you to filter or sort the list. If you watch one of the beginner classes that we offer, we explain that the first line usually on most of the pages are to filter or sort the data on that page.
Got it.
So your first record of data entry is usually done with the line with the asterisk in it.
Yep. Okay, very good.
All I had to do was select the item, the description from QuickBooks populates for me, and then I can give it a serial number. Grouping allows me to just create a group multiple items together. If I have portable toilets or I have different pieces of equipment, I can kind of just create a grouping to help me manage this list a little easier. Location as well, if I have maybe different yards or different starting locations or warehouses, I could track where that equipment is physically sitting. These are just drop-down boxes that you can type in, and the list will then be populated with the items in it as you start typing in.
Michael, it made sense that you could do groups. They're pretty easy. You just type it in. But if you wanted to get rid of a group, where do you do that?
If I add something to a group, if I put this in Group A, now if I remove all the items in Group A, that'll be removed from the list.
Oh, I'm with you. Thank you. Okay.
Daily charge, I can set my own values for these, or I can have this be calculated on a 4-week month. So I can maybe put in 15 per day. It'll ask me, do I want to auto-calculate, and I can hit yes. Otherwise, I could hit no, and I can put in my own charges.
Does that override anything that's already in QuickBooks if there was already a chart?
Not at all.
Okay, so then does it work in some sort of relationship with that, or are they just two separate numbers?
These, if you're doing a rental transaction, which we'll show in a minute when you're entering an order, based on a couple, whether you're billing this monthly, weekly, or daily, it can use these specific rates. You know, in QuickBooks, you only have one price for that item.
That's correct.
The sales price. So this allows you to set specific pricing for rentals. It has nothing to do with the price of how it is in QuickBooks. It's completely separate.
I'm pricing in QuickBooks, so it's fine.
Okay. Now, if you don't use serialized inventory, you don't need to track serial numbers. You can always use the price that's in QuickBooks for your rental items. You won't need to set them up on this page.
Got it. I'm with you.
And this is all we need to fill out. The rented to, the next field over, is automatically populated when we put that item out on rent. The invoice number would then show. The delivery date would automatically show. So the rest of this kind of gets populated and tells me where the unit is once we rent it out. If I need to bulk add serial numbers, I can do so by clicking this button. I then can select an item. So maybe I want to add more portable toilets in a sequence. add maybe 50 to this list, and my starting number is going to be 1001, and hit add. Now I've got 50 available in my list. Now everywhere in the service program you see something that's blue and underlined. That's a visual clue for you to be able to double click to drill down and see the details. So if I double click on a serial number, I'm going to go into rental item detail. I have custom fields I can set up here just by clicking in the white space and setting a label. We have some preset fields on the left column: replacement cost, size, condition, vendor, purchase price. You could also see a list of current transactions this unit is rented on, a repair history, billing history every time this unit was billed, and a file link where you can hit browse and attach a picture.
Okay.
Do we ever take pictures?
No.
It doesn't have to be a picture. It can be any type of document. You could have the original purchase receipt, a scanned copy, maintenance contracts, anything like that. So once I have inventory set up, I'm just going to hit close that screen, and we're going to walk through entering a rental order. I can do so by go to rental info, enter a new rental. So rental transaction is what's going to be used to manage the billing. It can be used to manage for quoting for a rental. You'll use it to put a unit onto a route, create tasks or work orders for service or deliveries and pickups, print all your forms for this rental, whether it's a delivery ticket, pickup ticket, a service agreement, or a contract, if you will. All of that's done from this screen. The first thing I would do is select a customer. I can type in a location, maybe placement instructions if they wanted this set at a certain area. I can put in a site contact. It'll ask you, do you want to add this person to the list to be used in the future? You can hit yes, and then put in a site telephone number or site-specific phone number. I can then pick my item. So I'm going to pick my portable toilet. And then brings me right to my serial number field. Now this shows me the list of available units to rent out. Now obviously maybe at the time of entering the order you don't know what serial number is going to be delivered, so you can always leave this blank and fill it after maybe a delivery has been completed or the equipment's on site or the customer picks it up, whatever the scenario. I'm just going to go ahead and select it. And because my billing increment is set to monthly, it put in the price for the monthly rate. If I had set that to daily, it would have put in the price as the daily rate for that unit. If I didn't set up serial numbers, what would show up in that price field is the price from QuickBooks. And I can always override it on a per transaction basis. If I say, you know what, this customer, we give a little bit of a discount for their monthly, we want to sell it at $47.50, I could just make that adjustment right here for this one transaction. If I double-click on the price, it's going to give me a little pop-up of this specific serial number and the daily, weekly, and monthly charges, just for reference. I can tell the software to prorate this charge, or I can uncheck it to have it just always do a flat $55 every month. Benefit of doing prorated, if we're delivering this today, and let's say this is in the middle of our billing cycle, the unit would be automatically prorated to get it caught up, let's say, to whenever you run billing. So they may have a smaller amount, their first bill, and then every month after that it would be a full month's charge.
Michael?
There are a lot of different scenarios depending on whether you bill in advance or bill in the rear. And even if, the way our software is designed kind of out of the box, if you will, is to bill every customer at one time once per every 28 days or 30 days.
Michael, can I ask a question?
Yes.
This is Pam. Is there a way to tell Service Program that we never want to prorate anything? We're always going to charge a monthly rate?
Yeah, there's an option in the software settings if you go to Control Table Maintenance under Rentals.
Okay.
I have the program to default to prorate. If you turn that to no, it'll never check that prorate.
Okay, and so it'll always just charge the full monthly rate regardless of what dates you have in there or anything. I'm having
Correct.
issues prorating and dating and stuff.
We have made changes in the way monthly rentals are billed. I know, Pam, you've been on the program for a while. The billed through date is now included as well as the delivery date. So we do include those dates when calculating charges for monthly rentals. We are billing for delivery and the return date, if you will.
Yeah, it's pulling up, since we did the update, my dates are showing, it shows the bill through date correctly, but like if we're billing from the first of the month to the last day of the month, so say from the 1st to the 31st, the date will come up on the invoice as one day prior. So, like for example, when I ran my
completely lost you there.
Sorry.
Phone cut out. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, so it was billing from the 1st of the month to what date again?
So say from the 1st to the 31st. My date would pop up as from for February, it was showing February 28th to March 31st instead of March 1st to March 31st. That's the date it was populating.
Now, how are you billing that? Through the batch or hitting post to QuickBooks?
That was billing through batch billing. If I post to QuickBooks, it would do some really funky stuff with the date.
If I take my billed through date and I set this, if I do it today and I run billing to 3/27, this is going to be billed from 2/27 to 3/27.
Based on which date, the billed through date or the delivery date?
It's going to start as the billed through date would be the first date that would show up on that line, and then the ending date when you run a batched billing would be the last date on that line. So it would be 2/27 to 3/27.
See, that doesn't work because we need to bill from like the 1st to the 31st. So is there a way to change that?
Well, if your billed through date was the 1st,
yeah, I tried that, and
if you run
stuff.
Yeah, if I set my billed through, let's say this was billed through the 1st.
Yeah.
And I tell it to run a batched billing. It's showing that this is a rental from the 1st to the 31st at $55.
Okay. The problem that I was having now, if you go back to Dr.
You cut out again there.
Sorry? Did you lose me again? Hello?
I'm not sure if you're having, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. It keeps cutting out.
Lost you again. Yeah, you're going in and out pretty bad.
Oh, dear.
I think it's your phone because I can hear her just fine.
I was able to hear everyone else. I'm only having trouble hearing her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. The problem I was having, if you go back to Dr. John Abbott now, his build through date is going to be now 3/31, which means next month I'm going to have the same problem. And I can't go in and change the build through date on every single customer every month. That would be impractical. Does that make sense?
I'm not quite following you. I'm going to have to do this after the training class with QuickBooks and see, because I can't post this into QuickBooks right now, so it won't affect my build through date. Were you working with one of the support guys earlier?
I was, yes. I was working with Jason.
Okay. Okay, I'll get with him after this and kind of see what he was working on with you, and then I'll coordinate with you after the class.
Okay. Can you hear me better now? I took it off speakerphone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Leave it like this. Okay. Carry on. Sorry.
No worries. All right, so if we need to charge anything anything else along with this piece of equipment or portable toilet, you can put that right on the rental transaction. So if we need to do a delivery fee, we can put that on as well. So you can use your regular QuickBooks item list for any other service charges. Delivery fee, we want to just be, we have the option to run once here. That tells the program that it will only be included on the first billing. And we want the delivery fee to be flat rate, meaning it's always just going to be charged a flat $15, no prorating, nothing's going to happen to it. Now I have a couple fields down here at the bottom. I can put in transaction notes, internal notes just for this order. Delivery and pickup notes you can put in for a couple forms. We have a delivery and pickup ticket up here in the top right. So delivery notes and pickup notes will show on those forms. I can go up here and select a delivery ticket and hit print. And I can do a pickup ticket. I also could do a quote if I needed to. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit here about some different ways to accommodate billing. I touched on it a minute ago. The service program is designed out of the box to do billing, basically treating every customer and putting them into one billing group, meaning everyone gets billed either once a month, whether that's a 28-day month or a full calendar month. Now that can either be done in advance or it can be done in the rears. It doesn't matter, but that's how the software is designed as it sits right now. We can modify that. I know we have some companies that if I rent something out on the 27th, I get billed the 27th of every month versus someone who rents something out on the 26th would get billed on the 26th of every month. If that's the case, basically everyone gets kind of their own billing cycle. You can create billing groups in the program to account for that. So if I double-click in the billing group field, I may have a group. I could just do, 01, 02, 03, so on and so forth. And if you do a full calendar month billing, you would have 31 of these. If you do a 28-day cycle, you'll have 28 of these. I'm just going to, pretend I've added 28 here. So if they're renting this out on the 27th, I could put this in the 27th billing group. So at the end of today, what I could do in the program to bill or invoice this, let me get out this other rental in here. Give me one sec. Okay. To run billing, you can go to Rental Info, Billing, and Run Billing. So like I said, if we were just billing for stuff that was maybe rented out today and something that was rented out maybe on the 27th of last month, everything in group 27, we could tell it how many days are in the billing cycle. I have the option to show the location or serial number on the description of the invoice that goes to QuickBooks. I could generate a pre-billing. Once it says OK, I can hit View Pre-Billing. And this would show me everything that's about to be invoiced into QuickBooks in kind of a batch format. So I have my $55, and I've got my $15 charge here. I apologize. I did not set my end date. Let me step back here. This first date is the ending date of the billing cycle. So if you bill in advance, you may be selecting, for instance, March 27th. Or if you are billing out, if this thing was rented and last billed January 27th and you're billing in the rears, your end date could be today's date, and it's going to bill backwards and bill everything from 1/27 to 2/27. So here now we have that example from 2/27 to 3/27. And I could then set the invoice date that I want to show up in QuickBooks. And I would hit Post to QuickBooks to send that batch into QuickBooks. Anything for the same customer can be combined into the same invoice that goes to QuickBooks. So in this example, this would show up on one invoice in QuickBooks, their portable toilet and their delivery fee. On this Run Billing screen at the bottom, I could select the date and delete a billing run. So if I noticed there was a mistake or I needed to make a correction, I can always go backwards, just delete a billing run, then make a change, and then rerun the billing. Once you've entered an order, entered a transaction, you can go to Items Rented at the top, and this is going to show you everything that's rented. So this also shows any of those service fees. So maybe you just wanted to see the physical units. So this would then filter that list and show me I had X amount total in the field with a monthly estimated billing also right here. I could double click that invoice number, which is blue and underlined, and that's going to open up that transaction that we were working on. Now, one thing we can use is a system in the service program called Tasks to manage a delivery and pickup, basically as a reminder. So if this is maybe something for the future that's being delivered, we may want a reminder to remind ourselves that that needs to be delivered. So I could use a task. I can just tell it to create a delivery task. It's going to go write a task detail, pre-fill everything for me. The only thing I would have to do is set my due date. Maybe this wasn't being delivered till April 1st. I then could assign it to one of my drivers. Or maybe if it's that far out, I don't know who's available, I could just maybe create a username in the software called pending. And just hit close. If I look at my task list, I have a task right here for a rental delivery 33 days away. And it's green on the schedule letting me know it's upcoming. I can do the same thing to manage a pickup task. If I need to put it on the route schedule for service, I can do that on the far right-hand side of the screen. So maybe I could pick a route driver, pick their frequency. Maybe they're getting once a week service, and then I could put them on the route for a service date. Maybe they're getting delivered April 1st, so their first service may be the following week. Put on route. Now they're instantly on the route schedule. Right here, the last stop they were added on for delivery on the 8th, or excuse me, for service. If you scroll over to the far right, you're going to see I have a order column, which are some numbers that are blue and underlined. This is used to set the order of these items on this transaction, kind of like a sort order. But I could also use it to insert a line. So let's say they want to rent out another portable toilet, but I don't want it to be, portable toilet delivery, portable toilet. Maybe I want the units grouped at the top. I could just double click, let's say number 1. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to insert a line? I can hit yes. Now I've got a blank line at the top, or then I could put in anything new. Now we do have a way to make entering these a little bit easier. Let's say every order you want to create a couple groups or kits, if you will. I can go to rental info, rental item groups. I could then type in a kit name. You see here I've already got one called standard. If you type in a name, it'll ask you to save it. Then I could say in that kit or group, I could have a portable toilet, put in a standard monthly charge, or you could leave it blank, and the serial number then, when selected, would control the charge. And then also in every standard rental, we have a delivery and maybe a weekly service charge. So now if I go open up, I will enter a new rental here. Pick another customer. I can go right here to add a group and pick standard and hit the plus sign. And it automatically adds that group to the transaction. So then all I'd have to do is select my serial number, and my price fills in for the portable toilet. And Claudia, to answer your question, if the customer does not have a set date for service and is kind of a like an on-call scenario, you really don't have to put them on a route. You could just create a task every time they call in to do a weekly service. Or you could create a frequency on your route schedule. If you double-click on frequency, you'd create a frequency called on-call, which does not reoccur. So you put a length of day 0, like that. That way when you go to add them to the route schedule, you could just pick a date and just put them on the schedule on call, and then whenever they call in, you would just go to your route schedule and change the date to whatever date they need service. Now we have a couple ways of assigning serial numbers. Obviously you can do it line item by line item. Like we've been showing you, each item can have its own unique serial number. But let's say if I'm renting out 30 portable toilets, I don't want 30 items on this transaction. I just want to maybe do a quantity of 30. but I still want to record the 30 serial numbers. In the top left-hand corner, I could go to Assign Serial Numbers, and it's going to bring a pop-up box. I then could pick the item, portable toilet, and then pick a serial number. So I can assign multiple serial numbers to this order without having to have all those individual line items. I can hit See Rental Item List on the top of this transaction. Takes me back to my rental inventory list. You can see what items are rented out. It'll show who it's rented to. It'll also show me the invoice number. And again, I can just double-click that invoice number to open up that transaction. Now, to return a unit, we just have to open up the transaction. And we need to put in a date returned. So I can do that up here. I could put in a return date and then hit Return All. It's going to prompt me every time you do a return if you also want to invoice them. So if it's a scenario where you do bill in advance, you've already billed them, you may not need an invoice. You can hit No here. In another scenario, maybe they haven't been billed yet and they're returning it early before you actually would run your billing batch. You could hit Yes and generate their final invoice that goes into QuickBooks. So I could just hit Yes. Then I could go to Rental Info, Billing, View Pending Transactions, and then here it is, their final invoice ready to go. I would just hit Post to QuickBooks. Now, once the date returned is, yes?
Michael? The Post to QuickBooks, does QuickBooks have to be open on your desktop to do that?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anytime we communicate with QuickBooks, QuickBooks has to be open and running in the background.
Got it.
Now, once the date return is filled in, that's what triggers the closing of the transaction. So it's considered open until it's marked as returned, and also when you return it, that's what puts it back into your physical inventory to be re-rented again. So by hitting Close, if I go back to Items Rented, I no longer see Transaction 18. To find a history of everything that we've ever rented, you can go to Rental Info, Rental Inventory Transactions. So here I can find the history, open transaction number 8 that way. Now we do have under billing, if you go to historical transactions, this would show you a history of everything that you have batch billed in the software. And that is the basics of entering without getting into a lot of specific examples. We can accommodate a whole lot more, I promise you. We do have about 10 minutes left, so I do want to open it up to some questions, maybe some specific examples or scenarios that I can answer quickly for anyone.
Pam, unless you've got something.
I probably have far too many for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So you go ahead.
Well, we can learn from her.
Yeah, no, I like, Pam's got a little bit more background, so we like learning from that. But again, mine would go back to maybe have you do a little bit of review. Again, the difference between what I was having a little hard time with as I was playing with this is that I go ahead and fill out a rental task, or click on that. What was it? A new rental. But when I want to just send a quote to somebody, it looks like it pulls that piece out of the inventory, even when I'm just quoting it. Did I do that wrong, or is there a way of quoting without pulling out of inventory?
If you pick a serial number, it will pull it out of inventory.
Even if you're just quoting?
So just don't pick a serial number. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
The process would be not to pick a serial number and set the transaction type to quote.
Okay. All right, well, that was easy.
Yeah, as soon as you pull that serial number, it does reserve it so it doesn't get re-rented.
Will you go back through setting your, okay, well, don't go back through it, but once you set your date returned and it says you want to bill for this item, is it going to be billing these items one invoice for each item?
No, anything on, this is order number 19, so anything on this transaction would be on one invoice.
Okay, even though it asks you separately every time.
Yeah, because down near the bottom here it says return, and it looks like you have to manually put in return on every one of them. What if they were all returned the same day? There isn't just a one returned all item?
Yeah, that's what I just showed. If they're all returned today, you put in that date and hit return all.
Sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
I was having trouble keeping up a little bit. It's all so new, so.
No worries.
Yeah, great.
And then you do have the option of, that date returned if you had multiple items that were delivered at different times and returned at different times. That's why you have the individual date returned, where you could then, if you put in a date returned for something and something's still out on rent, you have the option to bill just that one item that was returned, or you could hit no, and then the next time they return everything, you could then bill the whole transaction together.
Oh, okay. Where was the no?
If I
put
in a date return,
yeah,
it's going to prompt me, do I want to invoice this item? I hit no if they still had something out on rent, and then whenever they return that last thing they have, when it prompts you, do you want to invoice it, you would hit yes at that point, and it would invoice the transaction.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you though, if you just do the top part, return date, and don't actually do the individuals, will it kind of auto-populate that for reporting purposes later?
It did. It auto-populated.
It did auto-populate it? It didn't for me. Let me go back.
If I put in 227 and I hit return all, it puts in the date returned in every single item.
Right. Okay, you're right. I see that.
You have to hit the button though.
Okay.
Hey, Pam, you go next.
Okay. I'm still, basically our issue is still with things being prorated when we didn't really intend them to be, or the dates being wrong for our billing. Now, it could be the way we've got it set up. It could be just our billing is just a little different. And what we've been doing is it seems to, like with when we rent an item, we have a rental, which is a monthly, and then we have a delivery charge and a prepaid pickup charge, which of course is only run once. And it seems like even if we click on the run once little button, unless I put a date in that date run, it'll bill it again, like the following month.
That's what run once is for. If I check off run once, as soon as I bill that their first time in a billing batch, the date run is automatically filled in.
Okay, so I guess our problem is that we don't, on the first customer invoice, we don't do it as a billing batch. We immediately go up into the post to QuickBooks.
Then you
So
always will have to put in the date run.
Okay, that's fine. That's what we've been doing. I just wanted to kind of confirm that part. Because what we do is we bill that customer then and there, because usually we try and collect then and there. We don't bill it at the end of the day or the following day. You know? But still, the last billing batch I did on one of my billing groups, it was just messed up. And it's got to be something with, I mean, it was working before, and then after we did this update, there must be just a few little things that are changed so that how we have things entered isn't correct anymore. And I'm just trying to pin down what that is.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy. It sounds easier. I could probably figure it out, you know, in a quick phone call and just looking at your data, and then we can get through it.
Jason has suggested, he said, why don't you sit in on this class and maybe, you know, since things have changed a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad idea. It may have sparked something. Good. Good. But it's hard for me to troubleshoot if I'm not looking at how you've got things set up.
Totally. I understand, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And then we did make some significant changes in how rentals were calculating based on majority of our users' feedback of wanting to bill for the delivery and start. And if that goofed you up, I apologize. We'll figure out how to get straightened out.
Yeah, we just need to, you know, tweak it for how we do it, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we do have just another moment if anyone wants to sneak in one more question.
Can you do billing based on if they pick it up or return it before noon or after noon?
No, none of the calculations take time into constraint.
So what's the definition of a day? Midnight?
I would assume so, yes. Next day, whenever the clock turns, if it's really based on the you know, the system time on the computer.
Sure. Okay.
So Pam, you would know. So if you set your return date as 2/27/14, it will bill for that day.
Well, see, we bill monthly. You know, our billing is you rent for on a monthly basis. What we normally do is if a person returns it early, we will prorate on a case-by-case basis, but it's so infrequent that we do it manually in QuickBooks. Like we would, you know, look at the last invoice and decide if we want to make an adjustment or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we always, when we do a return, when it says, do you want to bill, we always say no.
Because you've already, in essence, since you bill in advance, they've already invoiced them through that term.
Exactly.
So it would come down to issuing a credit to that customer within QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So different for us.
Okay. I think basically what it comes down to. Sorry.
Go ahead, Pam.
I was just going to say, I find with the service program, it is flexible, and basically it's just, you know, find something that works, and as long as you do it the same consistently, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Thank you.
I do highly recommend all of our rental companies set up the private training. If you haven't purchased it, get set up with that. It is, we can do rentals so many different ways. It's so easier if you have one of our staff in the training department be able to look at specifically your needs, how you need to bill the customers, and then we can give you the procedure to set up an order every time.
Okay.
All right. Well, Pam, I'm going to get with Jason and get a little background info, and then I do have a few calls. What's your schedule today? Are you available in the office?
Yeah, I will be here. Well, your day is probably close to the end. I'm only at noon here.
Okay, so even if I can't get to you until the end of my day, great. Okay, we got plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Did you know that the service program works with both QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online?
I apologize.
Please ask a sales representative for more details.
I'll look forward to see you later in the week.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.